Hello, everyone, and welcome to Section 32, the secret division of Starfleet that commissioned Memory Alpha. So we're the progenitor of the books. I see what I did there, progenitor. How you doing, man? How's it doing? We have none other than Jonathan Shorts with us to talk about chapters 5 and 6 of the Autobiography of Benjamin Sisko. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I am good. I am enjoying this book. And, you know, I got a wild hair a couple of weeks ago and started watching Enterprise again. And I just want
Really?
to reiterate, and I know this is very non-popular opinion, that is the best Star Trek intro song ever. Just saying. Everybody hates it. So even my wife was like, she walked in and I was watching it. The intro song came on and she's like, what is that? And I was like, Star Trek. She's like, I didn't know they had good music.
What?
So my wife likes it.
No one has ever said.
I have said, and my wife has said. So there is that is said. But other than that, man, good,
hey, man. You stand alone on that mountaintop, dude. You are standing alone. You know, good for you, man. Good for you. I will say some of the best visuals. I think the visuals are amazing in the intro, but the song is, you know, C minus. Yeah, I love it, but it's not terrible.
I'll give it some criticism. I think going into season 3, maybe, when they kind of tried to, I guess it got so much flack about it. They like sped it up and put like a little upbeat
like
drunk
why?
hit. Like, why? Now you're messing with it. But it was inspirational.
But didn't they do the same thing to the DS9 theme song too, though? Didn't they speed it up at some point?
Yeah, they did. Maybe. I don't know. But DS9 was great. I didn't pay attention. The only thing I didn't like, you know, DS9's intro, like the first couple of seasons, like it was really good visually as well. But like, I think past beautiful. Third season or so, they cut the time down. Like the intro is not as long.
Before we get into it, I will say, if you go on the Roddenberry Archives YouTube channel, they did a video talking about the promenade, which Armin Shimmerman narrates. So if you haven't seen it, I suggest you go check it out because it's pretty good.
Nice.
It's pretty good.
And where is that again?
It talks about all the trinket. I think it's on the Roddenberry Archives YouTube channel.
Okay.
But they talk about all the trinkets on the promenade that you didn't know about and how that was such a humongous set. So, yeah. But anyway, we don't want to belabor the point anymore. We want to get right onto our review of Chapter 5 and Chapter 6 of the Autobiography of Benjamin Sisko. First off, on Chapter 5, John, what are your overall thoughts on it? Any detail in particular you'd like to go into? Because this is the chapter where Benjamin, you know, he wasn't dead as it starts off. I knew I wasn't dead when I woke up.
I like this chapter. Which, and we're going to get into Chapter 6, which kind of gets a little heavy. But Chapter 5 was good. I love the growth in Chapter 5. Just the personal growth of Benjamin Sisko and his realization of that growth. So that's kind of what I look at Chapter 5 is the growth of Sisko is kind of where I'm seeing in that. A lot of it I had to go back and read just because, you know, you kind of you have a picture in your mind of what's happening and then later on you realize, wait, maybe it didn't happen that way. So there's a lot of layers in this particular chapter as well. So overall, I liked it.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of growth, a lot of layers, and it's Benjamin having to deal with having done something very stupid. We can call it acting out. We can call it seeing new technology and not knowing what to do.
Stupid.
But it's obvious it was stupid, you know. So what I gathered from this chapter is a lot of good things. They threw a lot of nuggets in here. Some of it was on the nose, and I have to ask you, was it too on the nose? I think the first thing was finding out who Benjamin's doctor is. Dr. freaking Pulaski. What?
I wouldn't say it was too on the nose. I appreciated it, you know. But, I mean, who else would you have imagined it to be?
You know what? Until she comes out and says, my name is Dr. Pulaski, I never would have. That's why I guess it felt like a good Easter egg to me, because I never would even thought that to be possible in New Orleans. I guess it's Pulaski's early days. But yeah, it felt very weird but cool at the same time, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of played and I tried to, and I'm of course not as tricky as I should be. But I was trying to figure out like the timing, like what would her appearance be in this? So I'm imagining in TNG she was probably in her mid 40s. Maybe.
Oh, in TNG, I thought she was in her 50s, or I thought she was at the end, near the end of her career, is what I was feeling in TNG.
Well, yeah, and I guess we're talking about Federation, so I mean, lifespans are longer, so that could be. So we're thinking she was maybe late 20s here, early 30s.
It probably checks out if you look at the timeline from where Pulaski was in TNG. If you kind of backtrack to maybe 20 years before the Wolf 359, it should make sense that she'd be there. But it still felt to me like, why is she doing New Orleans, you know?
I guess my only complication with it was just trying to, it's hard to imagine a younger Pulaski with the same mannerisms, you know? Like, and like I'm imagining the things she's saying as the TNG Pulaski, but this is not her. Like I would imagine she's not as confident at this point, although in the chapter she seems pretty confident. She seems competent. I would imagine this early in her career, she wouldn't have seemed as Pulaski-ish.
Yeah, and I would imagine that medicine on Earth at that time, I'm sure they had their challenges, but it wasn't like you're a Julian Bashir on the frontier, the backwoods, so he said.
Frontier medicine.
So yeah, I found it interesting that they put her in there. But you know, that was just one of the on the nose things I think we had in this chapter. The other one was, and like you said, growth. But the other one was his mom giving him the autobiography of Captain Pike. I was like, I just shook my head and kind of like this. Really?
What?
Really?
Why did that bother you?
I'm reading the autobiography of Benjamin Sisko, and she hands him the autobiography of Captain Pike. Now, is that a real thing?
I don't know.
Is that a real thing? I don't know.
I didn't think to look it up, but I mean, again, that's where I was going with kind of the layers of it. You know, I mean, now it's uber confusing because we have Benjamin Sisko's autobiography being written by Jake, which is actually written by an actual author, talking about another autobiography.
Yes. Okay, maybe just like a cool little thing he threw in there because I can't find it if it is a thing. So yeah. But you know, felt on the nose to me. Felt a little bit on the nose.
Again, this is one of those things I would have loved to have been referenced in DS9. It would have made it fit better, you know, if he would have faced a situation and he kind of recalled back to reading Christopher Pike's autobiography, which I don't think he ever mentioned the name Pike in the show.
You know, what's really cool about this, and we find out this book given to him from his mother is like the start of a domino effect. He gets the book. She starts quizzing him on ships and captains. He gets the bug. He starts building model ships. So what I love about this is it's the inception of the Benjamin Sisko, the Benjamin Sisko we know. All the domino effect from seeing the technology with the transporter to the first time, getting in a hospital, his mom giving him this stuff because we found out, well, that may be in a later chapter, but her parents were killed as Starfleet officers. But it's just like this bug gets in them, and you know how it is, John. When that bug gets in you and you want to do something, it kind of like you can't think of anything else. And he's putting these ships together left and right. He's reading different material about Starfleet and the bigger world that has now made his feel small, and he just has the bug in his craw and he can't shake it loose.
You know, and again, it's another one of those things that I wish would have been referenced more in the show. But I like the fact that we're getting to see the love of Starfleet, like Sisko's love of Starfleet. Like, during the show, he obviously loves it because he wouldn't do it, right? But he never has a moment where he's preaching the ideals of Starfleet much, other than to like alien species. It's not like a I don't know, a Jonathan Archer or, you know, a Picard that's talking about the ideals of what made Starfleet and why Starfleet is important and why I wanted to do it. And, you know, it's like Sisko is just like a guy that was really good at this job.
And we find out that he has these dreams of being involuntarily mind melded by a Vulcan. I'm like, man, that's a heck of a nightmare, dude.
You know what's weird? I told you I was watching Enterprise, so just so happened I watched the episode where T'Pol is kind of forced into a mind meld by the rogue Vulcans that are exploring their emotions, and it's kind of like a bad situation. I'm not gonna say the word, but it's just ironic that now we're reading the book, and here we have another forced against their will mind meld, although it was a dream, which was also the part I told you I had to go back and read, because I read the next 3 or 4 pages with it in my mind that this Vulcan actually did come in and do a mind meld. It took me a while before I realized he was dreaming it the whole time.
When I read that, I was like, there's no way this is happening. I was kind of ticked. Honestly, I was kind of ticked until, and he was dreaming.
Why were you ticked, though?
Just the intrusion of it. He didn't want it, even though you could have been saying it's medically good for him because he's, you know, strapped down by force fields in a bed. He can't move. But yeah, if he didn't want it and they're forcing him to have the mind meld, you know, maybe a bit too much, you know.
I think in an adult that was familiar with mind melds and Vulcans and all of that, then I think I would have had a problem with it if it actually happened. In this situation, the reason why I accepted it so easily is because we know Benjamin Sisko at this point really knows nothing about anything other than New Orleans. And he really hadn't experienced many alien species. So in my head, I'm thinking he's dealing with a lot of traumatic mental memories, and a mind meld would actually help him. And he probably doesn't understand that at this moment. So I could see that as a possibility that this Vulcan goes in to help him. And it really will help him. He may not want it.
Yeah.
Which again, we're kind of walking in that shady area of
gray area.
Yeah.
Get out of my head. Let's talk about Ralph. Artillerite friend. His dad is an ambassador. A bit of foreshadowing here because Ralph's dad wants him to follow in his political footsteps, be an ambassador, be in the whole political sphere. But Ralph, who also has a love of baseball we can talk about too. But Ralph has a different idea. He had some pizza, and he loved pizza. He wants to take it back to Telluride and open the first pizza chain.
I want to taste a slice of this pizza that changed this young man's life. This was not Domino's.
Hey, you know what? I don't know how the food on the Telluride worlds are. Maybe he hasn't had something so good, you know. Maybe what he grew up on was pretty bad, and he just got that taste of something that tastes great, and he couldn't give it up.
Well, you know, after a life of slop, I guess pizza is going to be good. That was wrong. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, great point. But Ralph also talks about baseball too. I think this is the first we hear of baseball in the book, and Ralph loves baseball. I think this kind of is going to seed us along to where Sisko gets his beginnings of his love for baseball. And later in the chapter, his mom even explains to him about how baseball was basically not played until this guy opened this league on Mars, and then it kind of took off again and came back to Earth. So I thought that was pretty cool, tying in the whole baseball part of Sisko's existence.
And Sisko's middle name was Lafayette, which was also this guy that brought the baseball to Mars' name. So, yes. I mean, he literally has it in his name.
Yeah, agreed.
I appreciated Ralph's comic relief in this chapter. You know, we hadn't really got much of that other than Sisko jumping off the freaking trailer or something. But I did appreciate that. And we don't get to see Tellarites much in any Trek, right? I think the longest scene of Tellarites we've seen were like an Enterprise episode close to the end.
And probably Jacob Pog and Prodigy. It's probably the only other prominent
true
Tellarite.
I forgot about that one. But I appreciated the Tellarite presence. And I mean, I feel like we should have had more of that throughout Trek. I mean, and see it, we got Neelix, which Neelix was a great comic relief, right? But I mean, could you imagine Neelix as a Tellarite?
Yeah, that probably would have worked. But man, Neelix was great though. Let's not try to not to change Neelix.
No. I liked him. I liked him better as Tuvix.
Oh God. Okay, we won't open that rabbit hole. Go down that rabbit hole. But yeah, we also find out that Ralph went to Sisko's and was appalled that pizza was not on the menu, and Benjamin's dad made him a pizza. So I thought that was pretty cool. So anything else from chapter 5 that I failed to bring up that you'd like to get into?
Not really. I feel like, so when you made the comment about the autobiography of Pike as maybe what sparked Sisko's love for Starfleet, do you think it was the autobiography or more of the ships?
I think it was a little bit of both. I think probably the autobiography gave him enough information as far as backstory, and then when he eventually got the ships with very little to do, he kind of probably pushed that bug along a little bit further, because we found out later in the next chapter that he's not only building these models, he's like making his own customizations, which I thought were pretty cool as well. So he has definitely caught the bug. There's a reference in this chapter to Benjamin, his name representing strength, courage, and integrity from the Bible. So I thought that was cool as well.
So you know what I thought that was going to go towards? And I'm assuming maybe at some point we'll get into it. And I don't know, maybe you understand it better. Like, so when she looked out, because he asked her, why did y'all name me Benjamin? And she kind of looked out the window, and he makes the statement that the smile in her eyes indicated that all the truth in her heart was let go. I don't really know. I don't know how that's meant to be interpreted, but I thought it was kind of maybe his first time wondering, or maybe an inkling that like that's not his real mom.
Really?
Really?
I did not even get that. Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right, because I'm looking at this book. He says that he asked his mom, "Why did you and Dad name me Benjamin?" When I asked her that for a moment, she turned away to the window, then back. I thought it because the question made her emotional, but now I understand just how deep the simple question went and how fraught with pain the answer must have been. So, I mean, at the time, he might not have thought much of it, but, like it says in the book, thinking back, he knows that wasn't his real mom now.
Right.
Which kind of makes it sad, actually, very sad.
Now, could you imagine all of the second guessing he does after finding out that was not his real mom? So now he in his mind, adult Sisko relives all of these situations and start thinking, well, when she said that, what did she actually mean? Or did she tell me the truth? Or was it the truth? Was it genuine?
Yeah. I don't know how to answer that. I mean, I guess sometimes parents have to fill in the gaps and make up stuff. But yeah, whatever she said, it felt like it was earnest as she could be,
She came up with a good one on the fly. I'll say that.
She did. She did. So before we jump over to chapter 6, I would say if you're watching this on YouTube or listening to it elsewhere, if you want to support this book club, whether it's the Literary Frontier Book Club, Section 32, whatever we're calling this thing, you can check us out on Patreon by going to patreon.com/discussing network. And John, I said I was going to go out and try to get a trinket for the next episode.
Well, I did.
So I'm sad to report that I could not find Hugh Big's pies. But I got the next best thing. This is all I can find. This is a Mindy Lou's pie. I could not find. I mean, I saw Hubix on Amazon, but they were like, well, no, I went to Amazon, couldn't find them, but then I went to their website. And it's like a 6-week wait, and you have to buy like 20 of them. So unless you're at a convenience store, you can get them pretty easily. I'm stuck with Mindy Lou.
Hey, man. I'll cash app you to half the cost. So let's order 20. We'll give them away.
Okay. All right. Let's order some.
I'm sure
Big's pie.
I'm sure to go well with my with a glass of my clean and blood wine I have here.
So did you because I know you bought that a while ago. Did you re-up?
No. I bought 2 bottles, so I drank the one, which now, and like full disclosure, it was terrible.
It's blood wine. It's supposed to be, right?
But I did keep another bottle I still have in my little liquor cabinet. So maybe one day we'll crack it open after a tennis game or something.
Oh, sure. Let's do that, man. And let's go ahead and get into chapter 6, because this is a chapter talking about growth. This is where Benjamin comes out of this physically bigger, stronger, from all of the rehab and the, just rest and growth over the last few months. And he is ready to head back into the world. Very different than when he came in. It's like almost like going in hibernation and come out with a reawakening of the world around him, his own city, and just the bigger scope of the universe.
And 2 inches taller.
Yeah, 2 inches taller. And even notice that his siblings are taller when he comes out. And we get this bit of, and I forgot to mention it, but in the last chapter, we hear where Ralph wants to tell his dad that he wants to open a pizza shop. But he doesn't quite know how to tell his dad, and he has not told his dad his dream. So that kind of positions Sisko, or Benjamin, how it might happen in his own life, as he wants to tell his dad that he has a bug in him, and it ain't pizza, it's Starfleet. So yeah, a great chapter. I feel here, a lot of growth. He gets home, he gets the jambalaya a la Sisko made for him. He's seeing his family, and yeah, he's back in the thick of things. What did you think about chapter 16, man? Any nuggets out of this chapter that you'd like to bring up specifically?
I don't know necessarily nuggets. It's just overall, like I said up front, it's a heavy chapter. Like, we touch on some very heavy subjects, right? And like you said, there is a lot of growth here. But I think this chapter kind of showed there's a lot of things happen that if it hadn't, and small things you would not notice, you would not think were consequential, that led to his decision. And the one that stood out to me the most was the girl playing the violin on the corner. And, he's kind of reflecting back on his granddad telling him, whatever you do, you have to live. Like, don't forget to live. And he's looking at this girl playing the violin on a street corner, and she looks like it's just the best thing ever in the world to do. And he's thinking to himself, that's how I feel about Starfleet. Like, if it hadn't have been for that girl on the corner, do you think he would have had that conversation with his dad in the rearview mirror?
Oh, man. That's a tough one. I think maybe not in that moment, but I think he still would have had to eventually have that conversation, because like I said before, I feel like he just had the bug. It is a very poetic thing to see that girl playing a violin with her, who he assumed was her granddad, and, taking him back to his granddad. So yeah, I do see how that maybe, as you said, pushed him along to live life like he wants to live it. And, this is where we're getting a part of the chapter where, his dad doesn't say anything when he tells him he wants to join Starfleet. His dad is excited. It's just one of the hard things about being a parent. And sometimes I guess you could say being a child too, because your parent is excited about something. Yeah, we're going to get back, son. I'm going to get you in the kitchen. We're going to start teaching you. You're going to be the prodigy of the family. But like we've seen in many other stories, I don't want to do that, Dad. I want to join Starfleet. he said firmly, and they even mentioned in the book that when Cisco's make a statement, they're very intentional, and they say it with a lot of meaning. It's something he's inherited. So he's firm on his decision to join Starfleet. Now, what ensues from there is his father just, and you know how stubborn his dad is. We've seen it on the show. And you have to say our honorary, what's his name? You got to say it every show.
Benjamin Lafayette Sisko.
Yes. But yeah, we know how stubborn his dad can be, and he's not hearing it, man. You got to come into the family business. And, you know, we just look at it as like, oh, you got to follow in his footsteps because this is the family thing. But he has a whole story about culture and history and how we've survived up into this point, and how you have to keep fostering that legacy. Now, I'm assuming this was where you mentioned that it gets heavy. How did you feel about the illustration of this by going down memory lane, going to this museum, and how it played into this chapter?
I think it was needed, you know, because again, you know, Sisko is dealing with things he's never experienced. He's never talked about it. No one's ever told him about it. You're getting ready you're making a decision to leave Earth, yet there's something this important happened to your specific people that you don't know about. You're going to learn about other planets, and you don't know about what happened right here. I don't think his dad, well, don't get me wrong, I think his dad wanted him to follow in his footsteps, would love for him to be in the kitchen. I think what his dad was trying to say and never really said was just that, like, there's not enough about your own history and you don't know enough about it to go out and help others learn about us. Like, if you're going to go out in the universe or the galaxy and you're going to take the values of the human race to these people, like, you need to understand where our values came from. You need to understand how we got to where we are and what we went through. Like, you don't understand those things. And honestly, in his opinion, he's probably thinking, you don't have enough time. Like, you need a lifetime to understand that before you can go out in space and tell someone else. So I think that's kind of what his hesitation was. Is not so much that he wanted him to be a cook. It's just he didn't think he was prepared. Now, he probably went about that the wrong way, and I think he tried to scare him. But I think after seeing all of that, and Benjamin still says, I want to do it, like, he kind of showed his dad, like, I don't care. Like, I really feel this in my heart. And how can dad say no?
Something about Benjamin's impassioned plea at the very end that really won his dad over. And after that last little spill, his dad was like, all right, what do we need to do to make this work? Which I think it was a learning experience for the dad, definitely. But I think it was also, like, really interesting to see Benjamin stand his ground. And even when, man, let's talk about this cultural remembrance and the war remembrance, war in remembrance museums where, yeah, we talk about going to a museum and just seeing a little video and seeing some trinkets of times past and how that affects us. And we get this depiction of this museum to where they go into a room and all of a sudden holograms are all around you. And not only are you seeing it, you're like thrust in the middle of this cultural conflict of where this black kid is being admonished, or the xenophobia where this Tellurite, a different race kid, is being persecuted because of who they are. So I think that's interesting. I wish something like that was real, because, you know, I don't know if I want to experience myself, but I think it could be interesting and you know, showing people how it was and how we can't go back there. And as you mentioned, it gets deep, man. It goes into the xenophobia. For me, I got kind of stuff that we saw. You mentioned you're watching Enterprise right now. Kind of stuff we saw in Enterprise as well, but also World War III. You know, a pivotal time for Earth right before we make first contact. So yeah, it goes in all that history, and this museum I thought was pretty fantastic and kind of showing Benjamin some of that.
And you know what I love that was said in this chapter is he's explaining to Benjamin, because, you know, Benjamin's question is, what fixed it? Like, how did we get better? And a lot of reasons why, but one of the main reasons is we realized we were not alone in the universe. And it's been said by quite a few people in our actual lives now. Like, a lot of people ask, what can make our current social climate better? Like, and again, I think I may have mentioned this before. Like, think about how united we were when 9/11 happened. Like, regardless if you're a Democrat, Republican, black or white, you stood proudly with the American flag. We came together as a country. Unfortunately, I think something like that, it has to be something that makes us realize that we're not as important as we think we are. Like, there's something bigger out there that we need to be together on. And I think that's what will fix it. And unfortunately, that's what had to happen here. And I feel like that's unfortunately in our actual lives is where we're going to end up being. But again, it's an important lesson for someone who's making the decision to go out and explore other regions of space, other cultures and other species. And like, it's something important to know. Like, you have to know that when you get to a planet and there's two different species warring with each other, now he has the outlook to say where this can end up. He knows where you are. He knows where you came from. He knows where it can end up. So I think all of that, it's just the little things in this chapter. And like I said, they were heavy to deal with. But again, overall in both chapters is the growth. And this is the growth of a leader, I think, coming from it.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my favorite things in Star Trek is when something, like you mentioned, they're on some other planet and two races are battling each other for some, what seems like seemingly stupid reasons. And they always say, oh, well, back in Earth history, we went through a similar period.
Yes.
You know how they do that line.
Yes.
So, yeah, you mentioned it. This is Benjamin getting the history on that. There was one line that I want to bring up that I just thought was amazing and makes you ponder and, you know, would make you think how you would even explain this to your kids when you talk about slavery in the United States past. Benjamin asks, why did they treat black people so badly? You know, how are you going to answer that as a dad? And then of course he answers, I love to sit here and give you an answer, but there's not a single or simple answer to that, son. Partly it's because the subjugation of people of color was a way to amass power and wealth, and partly because some people can only feel tall when they do everything they can to keep others on their knees. Woo!
Yeah.
It's pretty intense.
And I mean, what else can you say past that? You know, there's no explanation. Like, and I don't want to get sidetracked on it. I think it's important to know. It's important to know what happened. What's not important is how and why. You know what I mean? Like, the how and why is complicated. The how and why wouldn't make sense, because if we were doing things sensible, it wouldn't have happened in the first place. So it's just important to know that it happened, right? And that's the best answer I think he could have given him.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that even happens right now. A lot of people get hung up on the why. So it happened. Let's just say it happened. And where do we move on from there? And the name of those two museums I got wrong was the Racism and Remembrance Wing and the War and Remembrance Wing, which I thought it's pretty cool. Yeah, and that's kind of where we end. We get to the end and you know, Benjamin makes one last plea to his father that this is what I really want to do. And he's just like, well, then I guess we better get you ready for Starfleet Academy. And that's kind of where it ends. And we're off to the races, I guess, on the next chapter.
That's good stuff, man. It was especially interesting, disheartening that he had to experience his parents arguing for the first time. And it just so happened to be about his decision.
That's tough. That's tough, man. You see your parents arguing about you. You've never seen them argue.
Never.
But now they're arguing about you. And that's how it happens. Usually you have one parent that is a little more, I don't know, outgoing or open-minded than the other parent, and Sisko's dad or Benjamin's dad is stubborn. We've established it already. So,
but they kind of foreshadowed this in an earlier chapter when they were like sitting on the bed, and I don't remember exactly how the wording went, but I think his dad mentioned something about him taking over in the kitchen, and his mom kind of, without saying much, said, "But you're free to follow your own path." And Dad kind of shut up. So he knew it was coming, right?
Yeah. And we found out that they sold the hotel, that they just have the restaurant for now, that it was too much to run without the grandparents around to help. So that was sad as well. So
one more small thing to point out. So we also found out why his transport didn't work when he got hurt.
Oh, did we? Did I totally miss that?
So he so happened with jumping off the back of a shipping container filled with transport scramblers.
Oh, wow. How did I miss that? Wow. Yeah. I read chapter 5 last week. I just skimmed over it again this week. So, yeah, it's possible that that sucks, dude. Why? It's bad decisions. Bad decisions. Man.
Terrible.
So I feel a little, maybe we could say you big dummy a little bit less now.
Well, again, I go back to my original comment. You are taking a big chance of technology may or may not work. Again, if you find this brand new technology you never knew existed, you couldn't even fathom, right? You find it.
Yeah.
Would you depend on that to save your life at first? No, you wouldn't.
Not likely, no.
It had to go through his mind at some point, something can go wrong here. Right? At some point, something could go wrong.
Hey, he's living on the edge, man. He's living on the edge.
He's falling off the edge.
Oh, God. Yeah, quite literally. So what are your predictions for the upcoming chapters? I mean, I haven't read ahead. Maybe you have. I don't know. But it looks like we're going to Starfleet Academy next. Hopefully we'll get a lot more Easter eggs. We'll meet people that we're going to know or see along the way. I want to see Boothby. That's one of my predictions. I want to see. Yes. And who knows?
I want to see, I don't know. Again, I don't know the timeline well. Maybe we get to see an interaction with Curzon in the next chapters. A brief interaction.
Oh, we have to see Curzon. Yeah, we have to see Curzon coming up, man.
Because didn't he mention at one point Curzon was teaching at the academy or had a presentation or something?
I think so.
That'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I think we're going to start tying more into DS9 as we know it going forward. I didn't have a recommended reading for chapter 5, but for chapter 6, of course, because of all the racism stuff, I would say Far Beyond the Stars or the Bell Riots episode. I can't remember the name of that one. But either of those, I would suggest, because all the turmoil in Earth at the time, I think that would be a good one as well.
Far Beyond the Stars, for sure.
Yeah, but for a minute, I thought when they were going through the History Museum, I wonder if you thought this. I was like, wait, what if he goes and see a picture of himself as Belle?
I did not think of that.
That's why I thought they were going. I'm like, oh, wait, he's going to see a picture of himself in the future.
Wow. Yeah. It's probably there. Maybe he didn't catch his eye because he didn't know what he looks like as an adult. And neither does Dad.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Oh, wait. One more thing.
Thought they were going to do that.
One more thing to point out. Did you get his mom braided his hair? Could you imagine Ben Sisko with braids, cornrows?
With them cornrows, son. Yeah, I noticed that too.
That was good.
She had her baby looking wild. Come on over here, boy. Well, I guess she had to come to him because he was force field. But yeah, that was cool. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, if you are listening, watching us review this, what did we miss in chapter 5 and 6? And what do you think about it so far? Please let us know. Of course, you can do that by commenting on whatever platform you're currently watching or listening on right now. If you have email or social media, it's feedback@discussingtrek.com or @discussingtrek on any and all social medias. All right, John, thanks. It's been a lot of fun.
Good
and
deal.
until next time, we are going back to section 32 headquarters. I'm sorry. Bye.